Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Impact Money Show. Coming to you from Washington. Winter chill feels perpetual, with temperatures stubbornly around 32 degrees under a sky that's enigmatic, as the news that we're about to unpack. Before we embark on today's deep dive, let's pause for a moment to acknowledge the tragedy at Ronald Reagan National Airport, DCA. This event has resonated deeply with many, including my family. My wife and daughters are in profound grief, mourning the loss of friends from our U.S. figure skating community. It's a pungent reminder of how connected we are, even in our darkest moments. The economic overview. The financial markets have been showing signs of strain, with the Dow and NASDAQ futures both down by approximately 1.5%, largely due to President Trump's tariff impositions on Canada, Mexico, and China. This has injected significant uncertainty into the markets, with fears of escalating trade wars that could disrupt the North American and global supply chains. Really has been something else. There's a video, if I have time at the end, I'm going to play it, of a gentleman from Canada talking about how the trade wars with Canada and how will affect them, and how that is, they 60% of their trade is with the U.S. So it's a major thing. In contrast, the U.S. dollar index, the DXY, has appreciated over 1%, which might reflect investor confidence in the U.S. economy, the policy, or the moves towards the dollar as a safe haven amidst the global trade tensions. Gold and silver have seen a slight dip, with gold recovering from recent low, indicating that investors are still considering the traditional safe haven even as the hedge against the dollar's strength. The economic strategy under Trump, now with Elon Musk's involvement, is focusing on reducing government expenditure. Musk claims of cutting $4 billion in waste daily, aiming for a $2 trillion annual reduction, could lead to a significant tightening of the money supply. This might bolster the dollar, but also raises questions about the potential impact on public services, economic growth, social equity, and of course, the overall markets as a whole may be pumped up a lot on this on these dollars printed out of nothing on your and my back. Political dynamics. Trump's nominations have turned the Senate into a battleground. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s nomination for Health and Human Services has reignited vaccine policy debates. Tulsi Gabbard's potential role in intelligence has sparked discussions on her foreign policy views. And Kash Patel's nomination for the FBI director has brought scrutiny under his experience and motives. It's also brought a lot of scrutiny on the FBI. He has before said that he would close the FBI. Of course, historically, once people get into those positions, they decide they're not going to do that. He'll probably be the same. But I would imagine that it'll be an improvement anyway. Each confirmation could pivot the direction of U.S. policy significantly. And that's Kash Patel, of course, Tulsi Gabbard, or RFK Jr. And the discourse around this affirmative action, now they call it DEI, has become particularly contentious after Trump's remarks linking these policies to the tragedy at the Ronald Reagan Airport. This has not only affected the debate on using these policies to hire people, but also questions about the politicization of human tragedy. Politicization. Global geopolitics. In the war in Ukraine continue to evolve. The Russian forces advancing in strategic areas like Velka, Novosilka, and while the Ukraine's counters with drone attacks on Russian infrastructures, aiming to disrupt Moscow's war efforts economically. The involvement of the North American troops adds an unexpected twist, with Ukraine proposing POW exchanges, highlighting the conflict's international dimensions. Of course, there was also a assassination attempt on Putin. He's pretty upset about it, understandably. I believe one dead, a few injured. I believe in one of his residences, bomb. Putin's willingness to engage with Trump diplomatically might suggest an interest in de-escalation, or at least strategic pause in hostilities. However, his dismissive attitude towards additional U.S. sanctions indicates the complex nature of this diplomatic dance. He doesn't really care about sanctions with the U.S. dollar. Of course, he's had to work around the dollar all this time. Europe, alongside Canada, is at a geopolitical crossroads, balancing between economic dependencies and security concerns. The push for energy independence, particularly from Russian gas, and the reevaluation of defense policies are central to this narrative. Canada in focus. Canada's relationship with the United States has been tested by Trump's tariffs, leading to retaliatory actions that have strained trade relations. This effect is not just bilateral trade, but also the broader economic fabric of North America, given the deep integration of the U.S. and Canadian markets. Politically, under Prime Minister Trudeau, Canada is advocating for fair trade. I thought he stepped down. I'm not really sure what's going on there. Maybe he didn't step down yet, especially through agreements like USMCA, while standing against the protectionist measures. This stance has implications for various Canadian industries, from agricultural to manufacturing. On the environmental front, Canada's policies, especially concerning projects like the Keystone XL pipeline, are under both domestic and international scrutiny, illustrating the tensions between economic interest and environmental commitments, with the U.S. decision directly affecting Canadian policy debates. Basically, Canada will collapse. They're on the verge of collapse if Trump doesn't have to apply much pressure, and he wants Canada to be the 51st state anyway. Pretty interesting times that we're in. Never thought I'd see the day, to be honest. Socially, Canada's progressive policies contrast, I would say liberal policies, contrast with the current U.S. direction, from universal health care to Indigenous rights to all kinds of stuff. They have the open border policy. This highlights the different approaches to governance and social issues. Elon Musk's broader impact. Musk's involvement in promoting MEGA, the movement in Europe, has parallels. That's Make Europe Great Again, has parallels in Canada, where his companies like Tesla are part of the conversation on technology, sustainability, and economic policy. His influence could shape Canada's future in tech and environmental policy, raising the questions about the role of tech leaders in shaping national policy. He has really done a heck of a job. He is doing a heck of a job. He has gained access to the U.S. Treasury, and he's in there. You think he bought a crime scene when he bought Twitter? Well, now he's on a bigger crime scene. We got a comment here. America is not in a trade war off of YouTube with Canada. Canada is in a trade war with America. Preach. It is amazing what Elon Musk is doing with his Department of Government Efficiency. I mean, it is absolutely, it's stunning what he's able to do, and what he's exposing is unbelievable. It's absolutely, it's just really, really something else. We're finding out all kinds of stuff. It's gangsters. I mean, the U.S. government has been run by gangsters. Talking about the Israeli-Palestine conflict, the term genocide has been invoked in the Israel-Palestine conflict, particularly regarding the situation in Gaza, sparking intense legal and moral debates. Critics argue that the blockade, high civilian casualties, and socioeconomic restrictions might constitute the genocide conditions. while the Israel defends its actions as necessary against Hamas. The ongoing conflict, despite ceasefire, shows the difficulty in achieving lasting peace, with both sides accusing each other of violations, highlighting the need for renewed international efforts. There's supposed to be a ceasefire right now, and Israel is just bombing the heck out of them yesterday. Aviation safety. The aviation sector has been under the microscope following several high-profile accidents, including the DCA incident. There was also the Philadelphia. I mean, that thing looked like a missile. I guess maybe it was a plane, but it sure looked like a missile to me. It looked like a missile. The aviation sector, these events underscore the contentious need for safety enhancements and the human cost when tragedy occurs. As we analyze these developments, the interplay between economic policy, international relations, and local impact is clear. The DXY's potential directory will be influenced by these dynamics, yet the global economic landscape remains subject to change. For those keen on understanding how these global shifts might shape investment strategies, the Global Family Office Investment Summit in Miami offers an invaluable platform. If you're interested in engaging with these issues on a deeper level, please get in touch. It's going to be February 18th and 19th in beautiful Miami. Let's talk about the markets here. I have with me the great Matt Dixon. Sir Matt, how are you?
Hi, good morning, Bruce. Morning, everybody. Yeah, I'll apologize in advance. We've got some works going on, so there's a lot of background noise. I've actually had to hide in a room. I can see my picture.
Well, that's all right. We can't hear it now, but I understand you're in a different spot.
Yeah. So there's been a lot going on. Obviously, we've had the Trump tariffs. I didn't get onto the show earlier, but I assume you've been talking about that quite a bit, have you?
A little bit. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Of course, it really sent the market spiraling between the tariffs, and it's also, Elon Musk's, the U.S. Treasury has been spending about $6 trillion per year, and he is now cutting his goal is $2 trillion, and he says he's about there. So I mean, that's over a third of what the Treasury is spending. So if you take those dollars out of circulation and then compound with the tariffs and everything else, where this dollar, man, this thing can really go. And it's pushing, of course, the risk assets down as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they've got far better advisors that, they must know what they're doing, but it really sounds like it's playing with fire. I mean, talking about cutting expenditure by that amount, it means the economy is going to shrink massively. So it's going to smash risk assets. It's going to cause depression. It is going to do that. And then these tariffs, it's going to up inflation. You can't lower interest rates when it's going to boost inflation because the cost of everything is going to go up. So if you bang tariffs on, then the cost of everything is obviously going to go up. Long term, I can see the objective is to try to get more goods made in America. But short, medium term, it's going to be a massive hit on the economy, I would say. And that's, it's not just me. This is what the markets are telling you. This is what this little blip we've had. They're probably all hoping that Trump is going to step back from this, that it's his usual tactic of talking big, strong talk, basically effectively bullying people to do something, which they haven't done in the past. Maybe that's a good tactic. Who knows? But I'm just saying.
I mean, that is his tactic. I was thinking about it as I put the show together this morning. I mean, it's classic Trump. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do this, and then pull it back. Although the tariffs are in place, they started on Saturday. That's what really sent. He announced that they would start last Saturday, of course, over the weekend. On Friday, of course, that immediately sent all the markets tumbling. They bled all weekend. And it's interesting. I think that he does kind of, in one way, stuff needs to be broken a little bit, not a little bit. I mean, you get Elon Musk in the Treasury Department, and he's like, oh my God, like this is, look, we're paying for this, we're paying for that. The U.S. Treasury was approving every single request that came in there, whether it came from the banking cartel or whoever. So they wanted to send, millions of dollars to like a known terrorist, and everything just got approved. It was like a rubber stamp. Everything got approved. And then he's also showing, even last night I was reading, that everybody's on the take, and they're like, you had Bill Kristol, and I think his name Billy Crystal, and he's like, oh, the deep state was better than the Trump state, and it's like hours later, it's like they expose that he's getting millions and millions of dollars from U.S. aid, and this U.S. aid is just operating as like a gangster type of criminal operation here. I'll tell you this: I hope that they have, and I'm sure they do, but I hope they have really good security around them, because this stuff is. This is crazy stuff going on.
There's a very famous economist. His name is Schumpeter. Not sure which country, maybe German, I'm not sure. But very famous economist. And he proposed something called creative destruction. And he's basically saying his thesis is that in order to create something, you first have to have destruction to basically clear the way for new construction.
This is the overall. This is how they do it. I know my friends that have, some of them, world leaders, and that's what they say. You have to break it first. You break it first, and that's why you look at what's happening in the Ukraine and everything else. You have to break it first, and then you build it back. That is I feel like the ruling strategy.
There will be something in that. Even with a fruit tree, obviously, if you want it to bear fruit, you prune it first. It might be quite drastic. If you want roses to bloom, you prune them hard. And that basically, then you set the scene, you stimulate the growth, and that's what happens. So, maybe there's, maybe there's something in it. Who knows? But the markets don't like it now.
The markets don't like it.
Not for now. The dollar's rallied a lot, hasn't it? So I'm just looking at Solana. Obviously, we had Solana peak only a couple of weeks ago at, I think it's 295 or something, was it? Somewhere around there. And it's down now at 199. It actually dipped to 170 something earlier, didn't it?
So it did. I was looking for that 138 mark that you mentioned, or whatever it was. I'm like, it might be time to go long. But it's really, I feel like all other, everything's kind of off right now. Any type of predictions that you've made. This is like major stuff going on.
To be fair, if you follow my X, and I know you do, you will have seen that even before this happened, I was saying to people, we're due a correction. It's going to pull back because. You've
been saying it on the show too, on and on.
Yeah, so this
is actually a fairly, even though it's a deep correction, in a way, it's not. It still has, in my opinion, could easily go much further.
It could potentially. It just depends what happens with these tariffs. The danger is, as I say, potentially it's playing with fire, but I guess they must know what they're doing. But just think about it. With the bond buying program, for example, China buy US bonds. That's what keeps the US funded. That's where the US get the money from, is basically effectively China is probably the biggest one, buying US bonds. Now, if China don't like these tariffs, they can say, well, we're not going to buy your bonds. So there's all sorts of things can happen. It's a very, very dangerous game that's been played, but maybe that's, you have to speculate to accumulate. Maybe it's worth taking these risks. I don't know, because we do know that the US economy and the world economy as a whole is in dire trouble because of all this money printing that's happened. And there's no way out. They just keep kicking the can down the road. So maybe what they're doing is actually say, well, let's not keep kicking the can down the road. Let's address the problems. It's going to be painful. And clearly it is going to be painful. The markets don't like it. And it could get a lot more painful. But at some point, if you don't want the whole thing to completely collapse, you have got to address the issues. So maybe that's what's happening. Let's hope that's what's happening.
Well, yeah, it is an interesting point. I think that, I was talking to a couple of people over the weekend, and administration and everything, really everybody was just thinking about, basically killing the US dollar, just basically printing it until it went into nothingness, or until it actually collapsed. Trump doesn't want to collapse the US dollar. I think that's very obvious. He never has. He's always been a fan of the dollar. He wants everyone using the dollar. And so it's a very different strategy. Very, very different strategy.
Yeah. I've been looking at, obviously, we'll go through a few of the assets. I've been looking at Solana, which is, as you know, one of my favorites. And I've been looking since the FTX low. You can see on the bottom left there. That was around the FTX low. When there was that FTX crisis, Solana was obviously heavily hit at the time. And it reached a low price of $7 or $8, about $8, I think, at the time. And it's been moving up impulsively, of course. There's been no real overlap there. Every move up, the move down doesn't overlap any previous move up. So it's been an impulsive move to the upside. But potentially, we do. I mean, this is a whole cycle. This is a complete cycle since the FTX low. But potentially, that cycle may have ended at the top of that 295. But
well, and this is the other part. You're like, well, okay, yeah, that might have been it. I mean, if we're going into this, and it appears that we are into this new policy, yeah.
Yeah, but what I'll do is, I mean, I'll just jump straight. This is a long-term chart. It's the daily. It's highly compressed, and I did it just to show us from the FTX low all the way up. And we can see probably some kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We may have completed a 5-wave impulse to the upside, so you would expect a correction. And in fact, even from here, this C wave down here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the upside already. So that could be a completed cycle. But I'll open it out. I'm going to go into the 1 hour and just open out where from the all-time high that we had there on Solana of 295 or something. That was here labeled wave 3. And I'm looking at potentially labeling this as wave 4. Now, the reason I like it as wave 4, I put here in this big circled area here, I've got what's called a triangle, and we can see the triangle is made up of an A, B, C, D, E. That's very, that is a triangle. And basically it's a consolidation pattern. It only occurs in wave 4 or wave B positions or a wave X position in a WXY. So it's in basically within a corrective wave. So we have a wave A down, then we have the triangle. Now, if you think, bear in mind and remember always, a triangle is always a pre-terminal wave. So it's the wave before the final wave. This cannot be, if we counted from the top here, the all-time high, if you counted the A wave, you could potentially count that as a wave 1. But the reason you cannot count it as wave 1 is because you've got a triangle that follows. And after a wave 1, you'd expect a wave 2. Now, just remember what I just said. Triangles cannot form in a wave 2 position. So this cannot be wave 2. So as I said, it can only be a wave 4 or a wave B or an X wave position. Now, it can't be wave 4 because we haven't got, it just isn't wave 4. We haven't got 3 waves down. And it even overlapped. If you did have this as 1, 2, 3, it overlaps into, so it cannot be a wave 4 basically. So it has to be a wave B or a wave X. So it can't really be a wave X. We can, I'm just excluding the alternatives. It can't be a wave X because wave X will be led by a W wave, which is made up of 3 waves itself. So basically, this is a B wave. Now, a B wave, as I say, it's a pre-terminal wave, and you get a C wave to follow. Now, C wave is made up of 5 waves normally. So, well, not normally, it's always made of 5 waves. So, following the triangle E wave, we've got wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, which is made up of an ABC, which is perfect, and it doesn't overlap into territory of wave 1. So it's a valid wave 4, and then a wave 5 down, which is what we had over the weekend, a strong wave down. So I think that's actually a nice correction. It's not impulsive because there is plenty of overlap there. We can see, for example, this move up here in the ABC overlapped this movement down here. So it's not impulsive, it is a correction. So it's a correction and it's against the overall trend. And remember, again, just putting all the jigsaw pieces together, this triangle is a pre-terminal wave. So the wave after it, the C wave, should be the final wave. So I think we may well have completed the move down for the time being. Yep. And I think I've been saying to people, certainly it's worth thinking about dollar cost averaging. I mean, possibly we may just dip a bit lower in this final wave down. It's possible, but it's certainly worth thinking about dollar cost averaging. When we hit that low around these areas, if we dip lower, you just add more, buy the dips. So I think we can be reasonably confident. In fact, I'm extremely confident that this is a correction down and we should now enter an impulse to the upside. So that's really encouraging for me. And I've said this on shows for a long time. I said I expect there to be a correction down, then we should get a final powerful fifth wave to the upside. This should be really powerful. But once that fifth wave is complete, then we will get a seriously deep correction. What we've had over this weekend, by the way, is painful. Some people think it's deep. It's not deep at all. This is a modest correction. Put it in context.
Yep.
In terms of, it's nothing like a market crash or anything of that sort at this stage anyway. It's just a very modest wave 4 correction. And we should get a wave 5 to the upside, which should take us to new all-time highs here for Solana and for many other assets. And then following that wave 5 higher, that is when we see something quite serious in terms of what could even be termed potentially as a crash when that happens. But that's not yet, I don't believe. I think we've got the wave 5 push to all-time highs, which won't be quick. I mean, it should be quite aggressive. I'm saying it should actually be, it could take some time. Could be a matter of months to finish this wave 5. And I have actually said for a long time, we may be talking possibly, potentially March, April time before we start to see a major correction. I think that's when it's going to be, personally. So from around now, I'm interested in dollar cost averaging personally. I'm interested in riding the waves higher, in the fifth wave higher to new all-time highs, and then we'll see where we go from there. So I'll just skip through the assets now. We'll look at dollar index because, of course, the dollar took a big boost over the weekend with everything that happened. So we had basically 5 waves down. It's a clear 5 waves. There's no overlap here. So we can see wave 4 did not overlap wave 1. So wave 3 is not the shortest. It fulfills all the Elliott wave rules. So it's a nice 5-wave impulsive move to the downside. Now we've had 3 waves to the upside, an A, a B, and a C to the upside. So I now expect there to be downward movement on dollar index to take us below this wave 5 here, below right down here, 106, and we're currently 109, so much lower than that. So I believe that we're going to see dollar start to weaken again. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen to cause it, but the charts always seem to give you the truth before the actual reasoning or the picture becomes clear. The charts tell you what's going to happen, and that's been apparent over and over again in the shows that we put out. That we tell you what's going to happen. We don't know why it's going to happen, but then something happens on the international scene or the economic scene to make it happen. So we expect the dollar to continue to weaken. I mean, even this gap here, gaps are normally filled, so you'd expect that gap to fill at least, and then we should continue to the downside with the US dollar. So that should be inversely correlated to risk assets like Bitcoin, like the S&P 500, etc. So that means we should, as the dollar falls again, we should see a boost in those risk assets. And again, I was out on X saying now's the time to dollar cost average. So oil hasn't really moved much. We had a slight move up in oil, but there's no real movement there, so not really worth looking at. We saw dollar yen, of course, move down sharply. And we're always saying this, it's a carry trade. When you get basically risk in the market and basically people getting worried in the market, the carry trade unwinds a little bit and you start to see the dollar yen pushing down. This is basically the yen getting strong. So we saw dollar get strong, but yen got even stronger because it's pushing this dollar yen down. So interestingly, there's no particular reason you would think for the yen, but it's what we've said, it's the carry trade. And the fact that everyone still borrows money at almost zero interest rates, 0.5% or whatever from the Japanese yen. And when trouble hits, they invest that into risk assets. But when trouble hits, they pull the money out of risk assets and they have to pile it back into the yen to repay those yen borrowings. And then the yen starts to strengthen and it causes a bit of a spiral effect. And that's why sell-offs are actually a lot more aggressive usually than market rises. So you can see from what we see here, the moves down are usually a lot more aggressive than the moves up. And that's one of the reasons why you get unwinding of carry trade and you get a spiraling effect, a knock-on effect, as it were. So no point looking at oil. It's basically doing what we said it was going to do. It's weakening. Let's jump into Bitcoin. Bitcoin, I said it's going to, it didn't quite correct up as much there, but I said it's going to go down a lot lower. It has gone down a lot lower. Even gone a little bit beyond what I expected at the time. But again, we can see with Bitcoin from that all-time high there of 109,000 and odd, we've had an A, B, C, that's an A wave down, a B wave up, and a C wave down. So it's a 335. It's a flat correction. It's a correction. That's the important thing to remember. So being a correction against the trend, we have an impulse with the trend to come. So I've got that labeled the all-time high as a wave 3 high at 109,000. We've had the push down overnight to wherever it did, to 91,000. That I think is wave 4. So from wave 3, we basically had an ABC down for wave 4. Now we should get a push to new all-time highs for Bitcoin. I mean, whether that's finished or not, it's there or thereabouts. That's why I say dollar cost average. There's no certainty of the precise level it's going to finish at, but we can see that this is very corrective. So this move down here was overlapped by this movement up here, for example. So that shows us it's a correction, and it's what's called a flat correction. Very, very common in Elliott wave terms. You get flats, you get zigzags, you get various corrections. This is a very common one. And we do expect it now thereabouts kind of thing, to rally to new all-time highs. That isn't necessarily the level. It could go much higher than 114. It could go a lot higher than that. But I think we're pretty well due for a nice rally in Bitcoin. Ethereum, we have said all along that it's the least favorite, and it got absolutely battered, didn't it, overnight. Went down to 2,100, and bear in mind it was 3,400 or something not long ago. So in percentage terms, it got absolutely battered. And we were saying that again, it's gone lower than I expected. But I did say it was actually in a correction. The correction wasn't completed to the downside. But even Ethereum, which, as you know, is my least favorite token for the time being, I think it's looking corrective to the downside. So I do think we'll still get another push up with Ethereum. It's that token which I don't know whether it will beat its previous all-time high, which was about 4,008. It might even equal it before it falls back down again. But bear in mind, longer term, and I said possibly March, April time, I think we're expecting a substantial correction coming in these markets. And so with that in mind, we would expect that Ethereum will fall very, very sharply as well. XRP took also a bit of a bath, didn't it? Battered, but again, it was absolutely as expected. Let's just see here. We can, well, actually, I need to scroll out a little bit. We're on the 1 hour. I need to go to 4 hour probably to show this in a little bit more detail. It looks like we completed some kind of wave 5. Now, normally, the normal rule is, it's not a rule, it's a guideline. The pullback in a wave 4 pullback normally goes into the territory of the previous wave 4 of lesser degree. Now, that happened precisely with Solana. It happened precisely with Bitcoin. It actually overshot a bit here with XRP. But remember, we're always saying XRP, the moves are always exaggerated.
Yeah.
So it's not a surprise that it overshot. So the previous wave 4 was this area here, and then we got some kind of wave 5 up. And then we've had another wave 4 at a larger degree, which normally goes to the territory of the previous wave 4 of lesser degree, but it overshot it here. But that's, as I say, not a surprise at all. No surprise that XRP is more volatile than the rest. So once again, though, I do think this XRP is basically a correction from the top there, from the all-time high. So I've had some kind of 335 correction to the downside. So I'm again expecting XRP to actually take out a new all-time high. Not the levels that people were talking about, but definitely an all-time high of some sort, I believe. S&P 500 has been an interesting one. Just wait for that to pop up. Went as expected. We were saying, even on, was it Thursday or Friday, whenever, we'd seen the move down, we saw the move up. I said it's corrective. I said that looks like an A wave down, a B wave up. Just move that so you can see I've got a B wave labeled there. So A wave down, B wave up. I expected C wave down, and we got it. And even with a gap, a massive gap there. And that's probably or possibly a completed correction, ABC. So we may now expect to see some more upside to new all-time highs for the S&P 500. And there's a great correlation between Bitcoin and the S&P. So no surprises there that we're seeing what appears to be a completed correction in Bitcoin. We see a correlated completed correction in the S&P 500. So again, they're all matching perfectly. I was asked by some of the audience to have a look at a couple of other assets. One of them was Ada, Cardano, that is one of the old favorites. Looks like an A wave down from here. Sorry, an A wave up, some kind of ABC B wave down, and it looks like we're going to push up again to new highs above that high there of 132. So I'm actually really bullish. So all those people I said, keep your powder dry, wait for the fall that's going to come. Now is the time to be dollar cost averaging. When I say now, it was actually from this morning, and I'm talking Dubai time. But never too late, I don't think. And again, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Do spread those eggs with a dollar cost average strategy, which means you don't put everything in one go. If it drops lower, you can buy some more. And if it drops lower, you can buy some more. But you're not caught out then, and you average your price. And if it doesn't go lower, you've still got some exposure to it. So you're still going to make some nice profit if it goes up. So, that is the strategy, I believe, that makes sense. So ADA, as I say, very, very positive there. Even some of the lesser coins, when I say lesser, we've got ICP, which got absolutely battered there. But again, looks like some kind of ABC move down from the top there. The C wave is relatively short, but again, I actually think that we're probably going to see some good upside there. And the same really across the board. We've seen Litecoin, again, very, very sharp move down, but it does look as though it's an ABC move down now. See, that's corrective, it's sideways, it's overlapping. So I'd expect, again, Litecoin to push up much higher there. So that was really nice. And remember I said earlier in the show, we talked about triangles being a pre-terminal wave in a particular cycle. Well, the cycle here was a WXY cycle. And I said triangles can occur in wave 4, wave B, or wave X position. Here, it was actually in a wave X position. So we had the W, which was an ABC for W. Then we had the ABCDE for the X wave. That's the triangle. And it's a pre-terminal wave. And then the wave from it is a terminal wave, the final wave, which is the Y wave, which itself is actually made up of smaller waves, ABC. So that was a perfect illustration of triangle being a pre-terminal wave and then the wave from it being terminal in that cycle. And the cycle was WXY. That was that particular cycle. So it worked out beautifully there. Then we got an ABC down, and then we're moving up. And I think this is just a correction. We haven't dipped into this territory here, which was possibly a leading diagonal. So that's wave 1 leading diagonal. Wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. Large wave 4, rule of alternation, so it's very different from wave 2 in every respect. And then we'd expect to push up quite powerfully to another high above that previous 148-ish area, somewhere up here. So again, everything's just fitting together. All the rules are, I love Elliott Wave because it's what's called behavioral analysis, and the markets are driven by behavior and by sentiment. By investor sentiment, investor behavior. And that's why I think Elliott Wave is a good framework, a good background framework from which we can then add other indicators to give us some clear direction on where the market's going. So again, we could go on forever, but I think that's probably enough for today. And hope that's helpful, Bruce, and everybody.
Of course. Amazing. Thank you so much, Matt.
Yeah, and look, if anyone wants any particular assets looking at or focusing on, or any economic rules or anything they want me to look into, I'll happily do that. So please drop in any requests, and I'll happily address those. So thanks again for listening. Have a good evening. A good evening from me. It's good afternoon or morning, whatever for you. So catch you soon, Bruce. Catch you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Great, Matt Dixon with the Market Watch Report. As I always say, world-class analysis that we get here. The markets are, they have come up nicely from the bottom, and you heard them. This is looking like, has looked like a corrective move. So we should be moving higher. Dollar cost average is key. As the stock market opens, we could have the U.S. stock market opens, we could have a nice pullback. Because the futures are down, the markets will open. It's possible that we have a pullback again, and that would give you a good opportunity to dollar cost average in. Of course, we've already moved up quite a bit from the bottom. So trade carefully, but we should be in that terminal wave, starting that terminal wave. All right, I'm going to play here another panel from our crypto leadership. Let's see here. Boom, crypto leadership conference that we had. I have a lot of good stuff. I'm also going to be bringing in the upcoming days leading up to the conference in Miami, talking to more and more people who are there. So that will be quite interesting here. Let me just, here we go. This is an interesting panel. Haha. Let me share my screen here.
You know, he's not a spring chicken anymore. Feeling that was given to you by.
Please welcome to the stage, Maris Beckoff, Kenny Lee. Where's Kenny Lee? Kenny Lee, there he is. Kenny Lee with Manta. I don't know if you guys, the Manta Labs. I don't know if you guys look at that thing. That thing's going. That thing is going. We have Nick Spanos back to the stage. I told him not to go far. He's talking to other Greeks. He's just talking to the Greeks, so I get it. Anton Galatzer, who's with Del Norte. And I also is my friend in here, Andre. Is Andre in here?
Yeah, Andre's outside. You want to go get him?
Tell Andre to get his butt out here.
He's right here.
Andre. This is Andre Soriano. Something like that. So, just so you know, this is Melania's personal fashion advisor.
Designer.
Streaming.
Yeah. Greg? Greg Chu. Yes. All right. You're on there. Yeah, you're on. Okay. All right. Maris, take it away.
Thank you guys so much. I'm Maris. I work at the Digital Chamber. The Digital Chamber, if you guys don't know, we are the largest and oldest digital asset trade association here in Washington, DC. We've been working for over a decade to represent crypto, digital asset focused companies on Capitol Hill. So we've got our work cut out for us this coming year. I don't think my team is going to be sweeping, but we're very excited to be celebrating this monumentous occasion with all of you. Do you guys, I think everyone, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves to everybody. I'm going to pass the mic down.
And just real quick. I forgot to give what the panel discussion was, right? Panel discussion on the future of work, technology, blockchain, and innovation.
Thank you, Bruce.
Hey everyone, I'm Kenny. I'm a co-founder of Manta Network, which is one of the largest scaling solutions existing on Ethereum today. Really excited to be here because I have a lot of friends who are builders, who are founders, and a lot of which are building many of the projects that you guys know and hopefully love today. And it's really great to be helping them represent a transition back to the US because over the past 4 years, right, like there's been a migration of talent, a migration of innovation leaving the borders. But now we're starting to see this transition back forward to the States, especially with the new leadership. And so really excited to be here. Fun, controversial fact about myself that may or may not fly in this room is that when Gary Gensler was a professor at MIT prior to becoming the chairman of the SEC, I was his teaching assistant for all of his crypto courses.
I think you heard my story. I remember with Digital Chamber, Fury did her first training session at my Bitcoin Center, Bitcoin Center. Back in it's 2014, right? 10 years ago, 15. And trained all the lawyers and stuff. But that was fun. Yeah, I think you heard my whole story there. I'm the official.
Hi, my name is Anton Watson. I'm CEO and founder of the Mosaic. And what we do is we digitize and tokenize governments. When I turned 14, my father was assassinated, and his brother forged all the deeds to all the properties that we owned, and it took us years to get everything back. Unfortunately, not everybody is as lucky as we are. My wife's grandfather used to be one of the largest landowners in Honduras. And over the years, due to natural disasters and old-fashioned property theft, he lost over half his properties. I built my company, Del Norte, on the notion of creating wealth and security for the people. We have worked with multiple governments in Latin America to create pilot programs to show how you can take documents like these titles, IDs, convert into NFTs, and provide the same security of the Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other networks, which have never been hacked, to your own personal data. Now, I'm proud to announce that we are expanding in El Salvador nationally, and over the course of the next 3 years, we will have the entire country tokenized.
Wow.
We're also expanding, hopefully soon, in the United States with multiple pilots across various states. And in the next couple of years, you won't need to know how to code. You'll just use AI to create tokenized communities with microeconomies. So think about the wildfire in LA. A celebrity will be able to tokenize everybody who's affected, put out on their social media signal, and then everybody who donates the money will go directly to their whitelisted wallets, and the people affected by the disaster will get the money directly to them.
Yeah.
Minus 10% fees. Versus today, if you donate to one of these organizations, maybe the people who are affected get 10% less. So that is what we're doing here.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andre Soriano, and I'm truly grateful to be here and be part of the crypto movement. And migrated from the Philippine Islands back in 1986. I'm a proud American, and thanks to my mother Josephine, brought us here to America to catch us here. That's my mother Josephine. Thank you, mother. She wants us to have a great life, so I'm not be able to achieve as a fashion designer because of America. There's no place in planet Earth that is great as America. So I'm so happy that you know, I'm surrounded with so many distinguished guests, and I'm just really proud to be here. And I guess we're gonna make America fabulous and great again.
Hi, Greg Chu, not an American, but then arguably your war of independence was actually a civil war, and my side lost, but we'll be very happy that we were to have a different settlement that made the United Kingdom part of America. So if Donald Trump's offering Canada an out, maybe he should start offering the United Kingdom one. So a little bit like Nikos was talking earlier, I'm a professional windmill jouster, Kraken wrestler. I've spent 24 years toward the objective of the economic emancipation of humanity. I have done so a little bit like Nikos with the certainty that you cannot stop a man who refuses to be put down. As long as you put one foot in front of the other, you are unbeatable. The choice, it's all choice. This is stoicism at work. It is a choice to bend down. It is a choice to take. It is a choice to be weak. It is a choice to be strong. That's the choice that you make. And now, what have we done? We've built an actual blockchain that actually works, minting real money that really works. And that's just the beginning. We've built a marketplace called Quid Pro Quo, completely disintermediated. If blockchain worked, this would have existed 15 years ago. It doesn't. That's what we built, and that's what we've done to prove it. Completely disintermediated marketplace where you will log on and transact without any logins, any passwords. It is restitution of data, of assets and money to the individual. It is the beginning of the economics, beginning of emancipation of humanity. Because right now, the Jewish bit between money inflation and CPI and price index, that has to change. We are, as a people, we are being debased. We are enslaved. All of this has got to change. This panel is about the transition from an economy in which our work and our lives and our expertise are debased and devalued into one in which they have value. And where those of us who don't have all of the assets that the transmission of money supply has allowed to escape that problem, our time, our expertise can become worth something. Our creativity, it becomes the value. I mean, right now in the economic system we have, not only do we have the taxation and money supply, we also have the taxation that we have a fragmented economy, and the control factors between those fragments and the controlling in those fragments makes all the money. They socialize the risk and they privatize the profit. Our creativity, our humanity. Nobody ever got up in the morning and said, today, Matthew, I'm going to send out 50 invoices, 22 emails, and reconcile a whole ledger. That never happened. Nobody ever got up and said that. We are more than that as human beings. And this whole movement, I think, is about recognizing that and making it possible for an economic system to evolve that honors that.
Hot mic pass. All of you guys have incredible backgrounds. These are the kinds of stories that we need to take to Capitol Hill and get in front of lawmakers to help them understand this technology. Like I said earlier, we've been working for over a decade to help lawmakers understand, and it is still quite a long road. Obviously, this past election has been a very loud and effective one, but those are the stories they need to hear. They need to understand the impact of this. One of the questions I have is we all have this Christmas wish list for the incoming administration. What is the number one policy each of you would like to see changed to make your work, your jobs, your passions more effective in this space?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I don't think there's any singular answer when you asked it. And things probably popped into my head. I guess taking the perspective of, thinking from the Web3 builder side, I think one of the biggest lacking pieces of innovation and regulation right now is any type of regulatory clarity. And so I think that instead of, necessarily taking back any type of regulation, compliance and laws, instead fostering new innovation through sandboxes on the state level, I think that would be tremendously helpful for burgeoning a lot of the new talents that's coming into the crypto space following this upcoming administration. I say this because a lot of my friends in the space, right, the builders here, they're in New York, they're in San Francisco, California, right, state level, they're in Florida, they're in Texas, right? There are these pockets of innovation hubs, but ultimately what ends up happening is that all the innovation exits the United States because of this lack of regulatory clarity, which I believe also goes back to education. And so I think that if we can have some type of understanding, education, and thereby, more clarity around everything on the state level, that can foster a lot of innovation and bring a lot of that talent back home. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
Well, yeah, we got a boss down here, rest,
Yes.
lot of education.
Yeah.
Well,
Say it loud.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
But I think one of the big things is, the KYC rules, laws, whatever, they haven't been around for a long time, and they're making us believe that, oh, you gotta give me this, you gotta give me that, we're gonna get it about this, and then where's you getting money, where's the person who gave you the money get it from? I've had those questions. I got thrown out of a dozen banks easy early on, and everyone was asking, and even now, I mean, throughout the world, the SWIFT system, and we have this power because we have SWIFT, and all the countries around the world don't want to get graylisted on the SWIFT network because they lose all the money. Like in Nigeria, they got graylisted from it, they got blacklisted from it, and they couldn't use SWIFT, so they all adopted Bitcoin, and it happens to be the fastest growing adoption, the highest adoption rate of all time. That was a so the KYC rules, I think, are really destroying everything. And they say, oh, it's because of terrorism, it's because of this. No, it's not. I mean, these banks, these central banks, the SWIFT network, and all these things that we've been led to believe, these antiquated systems we've been led to believe are put there for our safety. Like Ben Franklin, if you could trade safety for liberty, you're not going to have either. Which is that way. So what happens is, so let me give you Africa, for instance. So in Africa, the banks that send a wire intra-Africa, one country to the other, you're going to get charged 20, 25, 30% just to send money from in the banking system across a border there, right? So like, oh, you don't make the African banking system as bad. They have old computers, old phone lines, and speed of electricity is 186,000, 2.3 meters per second. It's much slower. And but then you say to yourself, well, they came out with M-Pesa, one of the first digital currencies. That wasn't, it's not a blockchain, of course, whatever. And they have it in 8 different countries, but you can't send from one country to the next M-Pesa, right? You got to stay within your country. So, well, what's going on with that? If they have all the technology, what's going on with that? So recently, Binance, you got invested in life, $4 billion. Because that's going to fix everything. I don't get it. Like, get $4 billion. And we'll only give you a month in jail. So CZ has to turn over control of Binance to the federal regulator oversight or something, an overlooking party from the US here, even though he's a Singaporean citizen. And what happens is the first thing they do is block peer-to-peer transactions intra-Africa. One country in Africa to the other on Binance cannot do peer-to-peer trades. So you got to think about that, right? What the heck is that? That's these people, they're crazy. They're blocking, they're holding Africa down. They have all the natural resources in the world. Their kids have to export themselves to get a job. You got to become a doctor, you got to come over to New York and become a cab driver. So you get somebody, they have gold under there. If they dig a little bit, they got to have gold coming out of the ground. But to send a wire, they got to send it to Europe or the United States first to get it back to one of their own countries. So this thing is by design. They control the money by design. And these are the people that have forced and imposed their rules on our perspective of the world, and it kept us living under our own rock that they created with these voodoo pieces of paper that we're supposed to believe have value. And where did you get that money? Who gave it to you? Who gave it to them? Who gave? Oh, we don't think that's right. Oh, you deposited. Biden made it $600 to report instead of $9,000. I don't know if you guys know that. So not $600, a little too much. $601, a little too much for you guys to handle, even though you can't buy a burger with it anymore.
Preach.
When I started off my project, nobody believed that this would be possible. In fact, Nick, when I told him about it back in 2018, right? He laughed at it too. So no government would ever accept this. So now I think certainly with yesterday Trump announcing and launching his coin, which is I think up now 15,000%.
Oh, yeah.
How much?
Insane.
60,000.
60?
16,000.
Oh, 16, yeah. Okay, so it was 15 an hour ago. Just wanted to check. We're launching our coin, and that one actually right there. And we're backed by governments, like multiple governments endorsed, everything like that. And we worked countless hours with attorneys, spent a stupid amount of money on this stuff to make sure it's all legal and everything. And still, you know, you make one wrong word, you make one wrong move in the United States, and you go to jail because you solicited investors and stuff like that. And it's not, all of this is designed not for the billionaires, it's designed for regular people to stay out of the system. Because if you're an accredited investor, you can invest into anything. It's assumed that you're smart enough to know the risk. And if you're not, well, then you are locked out of the system completely. Because you're too poor, too stupid, at least according to the government. Which is why all of these regulations and all of these rules, and I think what is it, 40,000 IRS agents that they hired? There's only like 2,000 billionaires in the whole world. So is it what, 20 IRS agents per billionaire? There's only like half of them live in the United States. And the six
got 60 agents on me.
he gets bulk of the IRS agents.
28. Oh, that shit.
Yeah. And the $600 rule, if you do more than $600 of transactions, you get paid in like PayPal or one of these, you know, your Shopify stores or whatever, more than $600, you have to report it to the IRS. How many billionaires do you know who do under $600 of transactions a year? So yeah, it's not designed for them. It's designed for everybody else. But hopefully now, with this new administration, that will change. And projects like mine and like many others will be able to actually thrive and really create wealth for the common people. Because, you know, the only thing that's stopping us from doing this is a very small swath of individuals who are getting paid by another small group of individuals to make sure that everybody else is not able to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me buy some now. It's not traded.
BT? No. Yeah.
Story, maybe. Come on.
One of the fabric in society is children, and I'm gonna be working with the Board of Education for our new administration for President Trump. I'm really excited. The thing that I'm talking about is about having sewing machines back in our classrooms.
Yes.
I wouldn't be the fashion designer that I am today because when I first moved from America, from the Philippines, I was 15 years old and I took sewing classes and I took interest of being a fashion designer. And the principal of Milpitas High School said, "Why don't we have a fashion show for these young kids?" And I'm like, out of 5 kids, I was the only boy, and I think like,
I used to be a boy.
excuse me. So I made this dress. It's a green, crushed green velvet boat neck with a bell lace sleeve black and a little peekaboo on the belly and on the waist and then below the knee. And there's this lady. Imagine I was 15 years old. I just moved from the Philippines. They called me a foul. I'm like, what's that? Fresh off the boat. I'm like, I took the plane here. So anyway, make the long story short, there's this lady. It's like, Andre, how much is that dress? I'm like, $50. And that from then I'm like, oh my God, I guess I can make a living out of being a designer, you know, at an early age. So I've been talking to a lot of Congresswomen, Barbara. We have Senator Cyphers that just got sworn in, and I'm so fortunate to meet a lot of influential people for our great nation. And the thing that I'm gonna fight for and work on is, like I said, bring sewing machines back in our classrooms all across America. And because before, when I first moved there was the cooking class, there was woodworking, how to fix your car, and now people are just like on their phone all the time. I love technology, don't get me wrong, but when there's no energy and everything collapses, there's no sense of survival. And that we need that, and most importantly is the children. That we need to educate our children. Like I said,
I would probably like just hang out with my homie smoking pot if I didn't learn how to sew. So it kind of like got me away from being like getting myself into trouble. So that being said, that's the things that I'm gonna fight for and work on is bringing sewing machines back in President Trump's administration.
Okay, so I clearly have no vote at this, but I wish I did. What I'd like to see is Donald Trump really do something incredibly brave. I would like him to end fractional banking. It is one of the worst forms of monetary inflation going. And I would like him to redefine money exactly as JP Morgan did with the benefit of Satoshi's insight. The fabulous insight that he had was that it doesn't need to be gold that is mined out of the earth, that we can prove that you've extracted a finite resource at a cost of risk, etc. It can also be a cryptographic puzzle. If we can do those two things, but I'll settle for just the last actually, because it's not a commodity. Real money is not a commodity. Real money is not an asset in the context that excludes everybody else from participation. That said, I think the industry itself is far more guilty of malfeasance than regulators, and I'll explain. Layer twos are re-centralizations of the square leaves, the proof of concept. Proof of concept for smart contracts on chain was Ethereum. It will never and can never evolve. It has failed to move beyond being a proof of concept. But so much money was invested in rearranging the deck chairs on the the Titanic as to who was going to be the new Shanghai billionaires. Then they pushed this agenda that layer two was the solution. Let's re-centralize operations without the grace of regulation, oversight, or auditing in order to facilitate this failed proof of concept. The same thing is happening with Bitcoin. This idea that ordinals, that you can have smart contracts on Bitcoin. No, you can't. None of these things are true. They are all re-centralizations of operations. So this is where we are in the world. We have a world in which all of our economic infrastructure is just that. There is no resource there. Blockchain mimicked exactly that. And what it has sought to do with layer two is re-centralizations. Layer zero is the most egregious of them all. It's okay, so we have all this fractured infrastructure. Let's now be the ones who connect it and control that market. It's all control. Everybody is frightened of doing what we've done. Building an open resource layer with zero governance for the whole world to use. You talk about finance in Africa. In my profile on QPQ, my team wrote a joke profile for me. It says, Greg is a professional windmill jouster, kraken wrestler, never met a task he didn't think could be overcome by sheer hard work, and has driven bakkies, which is Afrikaans for a pickup truck. All the places in Africa that pick up that trust fund babies point out when they talk about banking the unbanked. I've been there. I've talked to the people there. I know what they need. They need equitable access to markets, equitable access to finance. You give them those two things, the most entrepreneurial people in the world, they'll burst out. Why does finance have an issue? Because it's seeking to re-centralize in order to control and profiteer from those connections. That's why. You look at the Gajumaru, it's deliberately designed to create an open core resource layer for the world that nobody owns, nobody governs, nobody controls. Even the wallets, we built them from scratch. There are no logins and no passwords. It uses grids, log in with optical exchange of information between secure enclaves.
Wow.
Why? Because that way, anybody can trade with anybody else.
Yeah.
We built a marketplace called Quid Pro Quo. What do you do on there? Quid Pro Quo, this for that. You literally can trade in anything. We will not allow you to trade in children. There is a degree at which we have some what's the word?
Ethics.
No, not that. They're driven by this. It's when you decide that certain things can't list. Editing of some description. Forgive me, the word is escaping me. But we don't actually act as an intermediary. We don't sit there saying, oh, well, we sit in the middle of every transaction. No, that doesn't happen. It is between people. This is a marketplace for goods and services for people anywhere in the world to transact with one another. You know, you're talking about kids going back to sewing. I'm talking about an economy in which everybody is actually valued for the work that they do, that they benefit from the work they do. So where can you do that? You can sell your design on quid pro quo, and 99.99% of the money is yours. The transmission costs are so small that that's the reality. That's the way it should be. That's what blockchain was meant to be about, not this re-centralization, not rearranging the deck chairs on the fucking Titanic. Forgive me, but this has made me so angry that I have tortured my family following this through. There are no investors that will ever invest in a thing where you say, no, we will control nothing. Why? Because we want the world to move to a whole different era where your work, your endeavor, your risk are yours, not taxed by all the people that deliberately fragmented infrastructure. All of that infrastructure is stopping us from actually benefit from.
Getting fired up over here.
10 years.
Sorry about swearing. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
So I think we have to wrap it up quickly, but I want to ask one last question, and then of course, we're all gonna be here. Guys, please, like, find each other and chat, but 10 years from now, we won't have the current administration that we have. A lot can change in 10 years. What is your, ideal utopia scenario? What do you see the world looking like?
Let's go. Do I have to take this one again first?
You're first.
Go for it. There's a mic right there.
You're first.
Oh, okay. Sure. I'm sorry. Yeah, so, I think being in the whole blockchain space for over a decade now, you see that you can't really figure out what it's going to look like 10 years from now, let alone 3 months from now, because things are shifting so quickly. But I guess one of the reasons why I got into this space in general is because, my personal view is there is a time and a place for borders. There is a time and a place for governments, regulators, but we are quickly transitioning beyond, our natural borders that we've had for most civilized humanity. And transitions like this have come as a result even before blockchain, even before Bitcoin, right? With the age and introduction of the internet and bringing the internet to, massive adoption for the entire world. I think that government itself is not necessary in all aspects of everyday activity anymore. And so as a result, right, like what I would like to see 10 years from now is a world where, yes, government still has to, do good for the greater benefit of society, but on the individual level, we're able to transact, we're able to interact with much more individual freedom. And I think that freedom comes in the form of this type of self custody of assets, self custody of identity.
Give the dystopian side, so I think it could become this, or if each and every one of you don't do what you're supposed to do, like I said before, what's gonna happen is, hopefully we make it to the inauguration and he makes it. We make it.
Yeah.
It was very, I can't believe it, It's hard for me, a polarity mismatch it, take everything. I look at everything the other way around first for a while and argue with everything for a long time before I can agree with anything. So, and I can't agree with reality that is either. So, what's gonna happen? If we make it past here, we're gonna have, and we have 4 years, and an incredible 4 years, and everything gets decentralized, blah, 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 blah. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think something bad's gonna happen maybe, and then we're gonna lose where we're at because these people don't want to lose their power. They have a lot of power all over the world. Many generations, they don't want to lose that. They have their foothold and everything. So they're gonna try to pump out some other virus. Everyone's gonna take that shot. Then I don't know, maybe everyone's gonna take that, get that neural link later, because if you have a neural link, you're gonna make 10 times more money. So everyone's gonna borrow money to get the neural link. Then the neural link, someone's gonna hack the neural link or something, and then they're gonna make us into like zombies. The people who have the neural link, And if they see someone that's a crypto person, they're gonna chase after you, try to kill you. And that's how they get their excitement, because they can do anything to connect endorphins properly. And we'll be running in the woods somewhere, hiding. I mean, all that can happen. Or you can bust your ass and promote this thing and stand tall like we're supposed to, because we've always been right. I've known it. I didn't care what anyone else said. I knew it as a computer scientist, photographer. I've known it. And, we've been blessed with this little window of opportunity, but it's up to us. So to each and every one of you to help perpetuate an inevitable, incredible future. Or Walking Dead. They're gonna be chasing after you. It's not yours. Are you gonna go with the carrot or the stick? I'll give you both. That's what's gonna happen. They'll both happen. Just focus on the good one.
Right.
Historically, every fiat currency has gone down to nothing.
Yeah.
If you look at Dow Jones from just 50 years ago, I think only one company is still there. It's all new companies now. So the reality is, I'm not as doom and gloom as Nick is. We vote with whatever currency we use every day. It's not just casting a ballot for Trump or whoever once every 4 years. Every time you go shopping, you vote. Every time you buy something, you're paying this or you're paying that. You don't like Facebook? Don't use their products. You don't like Google? Don't use their products. There is a lot of alternatives, and now it's easier than ever, especially with AI. They can just literally just talk and their code will be for you. So I do think the future is a lot brighter than you think. I've seen it, I'm building it. And I do think people eventually, like in the UK, will get comfortable enough to make that switch in places that are not as free as our country. They will get comfortable enough to make that switch. And even in places like North Korea, they still get pockets of the internet. So information is still very accessible everywhere. You might have to search for it a little bit harder in some places, but it's very doable and it's not that difficult anymore. And with cryptocurrencies, I mean, all you need is smartphone, which I think it's 95% penetration around the world at this point. So yeah, whoever builds a better mousetrap, that's who's gonna win the race.
Yeah. That's true.
Well, America is the greatest country in planet Earth, and the future is brighter than ever. And it's so amazing that the global community is so excited for President Trump to be our leader, because without America, we are the greatest example of the global community. Commerce. We have Elon Musk, and he's so fascinating. If I have a chance, I'll ask him, can we have the first fashion show in Morse, please? So anyway, that being said, it's really exciting. 10 years from now, our country is healing. We are all Americans, and it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. I think they tried to kill President Trump so many times, and like I said, we're a country under God. You can even see that on the dollar bill. It says, "In God we trust." So we're all in God's hands now. So everything is so exciting, and the future is brighter than ever. So I'm just like I said, I am so proud.
So ashamed of being English as Irish. 10 years from now, I hope J.D. Vance, who I believe to be a very good man, is in power. I think Trump has the ability to be the vanguard, if you forgive the use of the word, because I know it comes with lots of negative connotations as well, but the person who takes all the daggers that allows him to build a better world for all of us thereafter and lead that. America leads it. So the EU SSR should by then have dissolved, and hopefully people begin to value liberty in places other than the Anglosphere. The Civil War in Britain will be finished, and it will be now making up the 52nd, 53rd, and 54th states of America. Wish list can keep going, but I think that'll do.
I thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your thoughtful insight. All of you here have a voice. If you don't know where to start, if you don't know how to get in front of your lawmaker or your regulator, please come talk to me or Chris from my team. This is what we do. But I wanted to give a big round of applause for all of you guys. Thank you so much.
Let me tell you what those 25 days putting this together. Right? Bruce and Kevin and Perry Ann, when we got together with the president and this young lady, they trusted us. We're not the multi-billionaires, we're us. And someone asked the question, how's this gonna get
Hey
done?
Randy, I got another home run for us,
That's
man.
right.
This
guy was
exchange
supposed
is absolutely amazing.
Hey Bruce, what's up, man? Yeah, why don't you tell me about that two-bit exchange?
Yeah, that's right. And we're going to be able to list our coins that we want, that we support, and they're going to be on this amazing derivatives platform. It's absolutely awesome.
Derivatives? I love derivatives. I can't wait to be on the trade copy program.
So what I want you to do is set up an account and then send me your UID, and let's set you up with a trade copy system, and you just let it run. Copy our trades. That's it. Easy peasy.
So you want me to open an account, send you my user ID, and you hook me up with the trade copy system. I can't wait. Sounds spectacular.
Hey, Matt. Hey, listen, I met with the guys at 2-Bit Exchange while I was in Dubai, and this platform really looks amazing.
Yeah, hi Bruce. Yeah, thank you again for that heads up. I mean, I've looked into this 2-bit platform. It does appear to have everything we're looking for.
Yeah, that's right. 2-Bit, TOOBIT. They have great liquidity. They have futures platform. There's a lot of functionality that I think you're going to like on there. And they really want to work with us. They want to work with the Impact Money Show. And as you and I both know, if they have a good product and they want to work with us, well, hey, that's half the battle.
I mean, basically, I love that copy trade facility. I love the features on the platform. It's basically very simple to use.
Our viewers only need to set it up to copy our trades, and they just do all the trades that we do. Makes it really easy for people to participate. I think they're going to love it. I'm pretty excited about it.
And yeah, it's definitely going to benefit people. I mean, obviously, with all the years of experience that we can pack into it, and people can basically benefit from that. Yeah, I definitely think it's a goer.
Hey David, yeah man, I'm excited about it too. I mean, when you think of the ways that we can help our viewers earn money and be able to participate in the monetary revolution, this 2-Bit platform just opens up all kinds of doors that they don't have right now.
Hey Bruce, I'm checking out this platform. It's revolutionary.
That's absolutely correct. And the futures platform is amazing. Great liquidity. And the copy trader program, people are going to be able to make the trades exactly when we make them and make the money that we make. It's a win-win for everybody.
Open for US customers, and you can deposit money with a credit or debit card. Doesn't get better than this.
Beautiful. And what do you think we should use as a referral code?
I think we should use Impact Money. That's the one. Impact Money.
Your voice is powerful. When combined with social engagement, it's a force for change. Decentralized media paired with free speech is the catalyst for an empowered world and a unified, invaluable ecosystem. Join Global Boost, become a champion of free speech, and help to reshape the future of media.